Good morning, YouTube. I hope you're having a great week. I know I didn't check in with you last week, so a lot of stuff has gone on. Not so much at school. I mean, we started school and that's been great. In fact, it's been a nice distraction, but last week I had my other surgery on my left leg and I've had some complications. So needless to say, it's been very, very stressful and tough to get on here to record between doctor's appointments and emergency room visits. It's been an ordeal, but I'm still standing. I am doing okay, and I've been able to come to school and act like nothing's going on, but I just wanted to be a little transparent with you. I am feeling much better, but it definitely has been a rough go of it, so I'm feeling very unsettled. The beginning of this school year, I just need a cup of coffee. Hold on. But I thought I would come on here today and just update you with how things are going. I pretty much started the school year the way I usually do. So in my honors chemistry classes, I had my students do a fray or a friend diagram. That was a really great way for the students to get to know each other. I did group them totally at random. I just use these little like cards to group them. And then in my AP classes, they have their summer assignment test on the second day of school. So I opt to do a station set with them, similar to what I did last year. I will link the video below so you can see what I did. As far as what's been going on for the last couple of days of school with honors, we've been just focusing on some of our classroom norms. Yesterday, I had them make an origami tetrahedron and have them understand some of the important things that they need to keep in mind whenever they're engaging in video content. And ultimately, the purpose of that video and having the students make the tetrahedron is for them to understand that there's a difference between watching a video to actually learn from it versus watching a video to like watch for pleasure. And so we basically spend some time trying to make the tetrahedron, and the students ask me to pause the video, they ask me to rewind it, they ask me to slow it down, and so these ultimately end up becoming our norms whenever my students engage in video content. And so I share those video norms and we talk about them as a class. And my AP students yesterday, we had a wonderful day. I wish I could have this type of environment like every single day. I feel like yesterday was just such a wonderful day to see the kids just actively engaged. I gave the summer assignment test on Friday of last week, and I wanted to show them the results yesterday. So I'm a little different in terms of how I grade those, in that I don't put a numerical score on it. Instead, what I choose to do is actually like highlight the wrong answers. I give them back to the students, and then the students are not allowed to have any like electronic devices out, no pens or no pencils, but they can take a whiteboard and work the problems on a whiteboard. The students can learn from their mistakes. And we spend a lot of time just talking about how they're not a test score. They're so much more than a test score, and to not judge themselves on, how they performed on the summer assignment test. Usually it is a little bit of a shock for students to realize like, okay, like I need to put in a little bit more effort here, but eventually they will find success. And so we spent a lot of time kind of doing some more SEL type of stuff and looking at the results from their assessments. I will put numerical scores on the assessment, but it'll take place like a few days later. I have a little bit more high priority items. Like for example, I have to get ready for the activity today, and then I also have to get ready for the activity tomorrow. So the activity today that I'm doing with my honors chemistry students is called the cryptic cylinder. Let me grab one. I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, this is a cryptic cylinder. So it's just some PVC pipe, and I have little caps on it so the students can't see what's inside. But you notice when you pull it, hopefully you could see that, right? We could pull it like that. But then when I pull down here, look at that, right? The students have to figure out like what does the inside of the cylinder look like. And so this is a really great way to introduce the scientific process to students. I used to do like a real formal like scientific method thing, and over the years, like my understanding of science and how it progresses has changed tremendously. And it is a function definitely of the school district that I'm in. They have a lot of professional development available for teachers. I'm very fortunate in that regard. And so we now focus focus more on the scientific process, and I want my students to experience what it's like to be a scientist and try to explain things that we can't see and use our evidence to support, you know, the different models that we create. So this is going to be a really fun activity. This is the first time I'm doing it with students, but I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to be really awesome and get the point across. This week is also a very big week because we have back to school night on Thursday, and I'm thinking about doing something completely different for that as well. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to vlog today and tomorrow just to kind of keep you updated and let you know what I'm doing. For right now, I have to finish taping up my whiteboards because I got some new whiteboards made this summer because the other ones were looking kind of crappy. So I'm going to take care of that, and then I'll be sure to check in with you a little bit later, tell you how the cryptic cylinder went, and then tell you about my next activity for tomorrow. I have to make sure that I spend some time today setting that up. I thought I would catch up with you after my second period class. I have some laminating to do, so I thought I would do that while I talk with you. So my students did the cryptic cylinder. It was so much fun. I had such a good time with them. It was just, you know, we don't do a lot of engineering things with the kids, and this was one way to just incorporate some NGSS engineering type standards. Here's what I did. So I started the class by talking to my students about what a phenomenon is, and I did add it to the word wall. So if you watched my vlog about what I was doing with that student space, I did add it to the word wall, and my students took the time to just answer some questions. It was just like, what's a phenomenon? What is, you know, what do scientists do with phenomena? How does it help them? How does it help the world around them? And so we had a really nice discussion about that. They just did it kind of like round robin style where they just read out loud. The students are still getting used to each other, so I didn't want to like put them on the spot. So I thought by talking about their do now in groups would have made it like a little bit, I don't know, less non-threatening instead of talking in front of the class. But then once they shared out with each other, then I did ask if anybody wanted to share out what they talked about with their groups. And yeah, so the students took some time and they shared out their answers, and then we moved into the cryptic cylinder, which was a lot of fun. And this is basically where the students were trying to figure out what is inside the cylinder, like what must the inside of the cylinder look like. So the whole purpose of this is to take them through the scientific process and allow them to understand like the challenges that scientists go through to explain things that are that they really can't see. So we didn't get quite as far as I wanted to. There's some really great questions that I included in the presentation, but I didn't have an opportunity to share with them. So probably tomorrow is when I'll have an opportunity to share a little bit about that. So yeah, so the cryptic cylinder was amazing, and I think it's going to get better because this is the first time I did it with the students, so it'll definitely get better, I think, the more that I do it. But I think the students had a really great time being able to create something, and some of them asked if they could keep their prototype, and I was like, sure, you know, that's fine. Some of them want to take a look at it tomorrow, so I held it for them. And then they do have like an extra practice worksheet that just kind of looks at the scientific process. I forget where I adopted that from. I'm going to tell you, give me 1 second. I just want to get the name. So you've probably seen this. This is the Understanding Science graphic. So this is by the, it's called Understanding Science, and it's by the University of California Museum of Paleontology. And it's great. And they have different visuals for, you know, grades, like I want to say like kindergarten all the way up to high school. I want to say I gave them the more simplified version because this is a pretty simple activity. So I didn't want to make it too busy for them because the high school one has a lot of stuff on it. But the idea with the homework worksheet, it was really just to give them a chance to reflect on it. So they're going to be tracing the path through the scientific process that they engaged in. So this is going to give them a time to just reflect on what they did. And then there are some follow-up questions on the back. It asks them, you know, what was the step in the simulation that corresponds to what they were doing. And then on the bottom, there are like 4 questions that have them reflect on like what it means to like test ideas versus revising. So this is a good worksheet that'll give them some time to reflect on their experience in the class, and they will submit this to me via Google Classroom. And then, so they'll like take a picture of it, submit it via Google Classroom, and then I'll give them some feedback and we'll talk about it in class tomorrow. So I have to be very busy this prep period because I have a lot of things that I need to do. I need to prepare the experience that my students will be engaging in tomorrow with classification of matter. So I have this like particle diagram set that I made that I'm actually laminating. I have some different substances that my students will be classifying. So I need to kind of get all of this stuff laminated, and then I'll give you kind of like a preview of what it'll be. And then I don't know, I'll probably pop on here tomorrow to share a little bit about how the activity went. One of the downsides of not being on block scheduling is I feel like a lot of the activities that we do, we have to like carry on to the next day. And I wish I just had a little bit more time. Like if I had more time with the kids today, I feel like I would have been able to do a lot more with them with the cryptic cylinder, but there's always tomorrow. But then I feel like tomorrow I'm going to be a little behind. So it is what it is. But yeah, for right now, I'm going to laminate these. I need to get the substances that I'll be using for the classification of matter activity. If I get the classification of matter activity, maybe I'll pop on here again. But for right now, I think I'm going to just sign off for today. But if I get it all prepped, then I'll kind of show you what I'm doing, and then I'll come back on tomorrow. Well, good morning, YouTube. It is the next day, and as promised, I'm going to talk a little bit about this new activity that I'm doing with honors. Today, we are going to open with wrapping up a little bit about the cryptic cylinder. We probably could have used about 10 more minutes yesterday, but I unfortunately ran out of time with that. So today we'll start the class with talking about the cryptic cylinder and just focus more on some of the general ideas that I want the students to get from the activity. And then we'll move into classification. The title of the unit is Tools of Chemistry. So a lot of the time, Do Nows will provide an opportunity for students to think about the scientific process and some of the things that scientists do, like, for example, classifying. And so the Do Now is just like this really quick half sheet asking students, like, what is classifying help science to do, and what ultimately can we classify? How can we classify things in our lives, and why does it make it easier for us to classify things? I want students to understand that when we classify things, it makes it easier to predict behavior because we're looking at patterns. And so my hope is today, by using that Do Now and Introduction to Classification, I'll be able to help the students apply that to our experience with classification of matter. So what I'm going to do is, and I have to still set it up, so I'll show you what I do to set it up, but what I have to do is I have to set up all the different samples. I have a lot of different samples for the students to look at, and they're going to first classify them into 2 separate categories. And then from there is some prompting questions and some feedback that I'm going to get from them. And then all the while they're doing this, there's actually a foldable that the students are going to make. So it's kind of almost like their notes in understanding classification of matter. And then, of course, at this point, I'm going to have them sort those 2 classifications of pure substances and mixtures into 2 new classifications for each. And so hopefully we'll end up with elements, compounds being pure substances, and then obviously there's mixtures. And so then we'll kind of divide it into heterogeneous and homogeneous. And so I think it should be a really good activity. This is the first time I'm doing it, so whenever you do something for the first time, could be a little tough. I anticipate this is going to take us a little bit longer. Plus, again, I don't have the whole period for this activity, so probably what's going to happen is we'll start the activity today and then we'll finish the activity tomorrow. I do have a Book It game that I am going to play with them, and then that should be good for them to review for their very first quiz. I think right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start getting set up for the activity. First period I have prep today, which is really nice. So I can spend the time setting up the activity, and then I'll hop on here and show you what the activity looks like. I just realized that I never actually showed you my classroom, like finished. So I'm going to do a quick classroom tour and show you what everything looks like. This will be good. It'll happen right before my second period class, and then I can tell you more about the activity. I haven't changed too much over here. As I already mentioned, I have the Raz letters up there now, and I've got my mirror behind there. I did change a few things. I put my like shelves up there, right, with some pictures. And then when we come over here, I've got still the same right over here, but I did add some things over here. So you probably want to know who helped me name my gumball machine. Can you see it? Chemist Treats. So if that was you, thank you so much. They had the idea of like Chemist Try and Chemist Treat. So I thought, oh, that's cute. So I definitely will be reaching out to you and sending you a gift card of your choice. But the students have already started to use it because we have been playing games in here. We did set up a love languages classroom poster. I made that. And then I have my word wall. It's pretty pumping. I got a lot of words up there already. I added a few more plants, right? So I got my little yoga skeletons and my little cactus. So I have some fun things, some new frames. And then let's see, what else do I have? Oh, so then I already told you about the wall. So back here, right, this is my little wall of molecules. Right, look at all of them. So I thought that turned out really, really good too. I'm a big fan. I think they look so cute. And like I said, I made all of these with my Cricut. I couldn't quite decide where to set up the samples, but I ended up setting them up around the perimeter of the classroom. I was kind of thinking putting them on the lab benches, and I thought it might be easier for students to be able to see them if they're all across the back counter. So that's what I ultimately decided to do. This is the presentation that goes along with the activity and the foldable that my students will make. I'll show you the foldable in a moment, but I thought I could just show you what the activity kind of looks like. So we'll be looking at some essential questions, and then we're moving into them actually making their foldable first. So this is good for making sure they could follow directions. And then we move into the actual activity. So it gets them up and moving to walk around the classroom to be able to classify these substances into 2 major categories. And then what's really nice is that there are timers embedded, so it makes it easier for the students and I to stay on track. And then finally, all along, we'll go ahead and group them, talk about what was most helpful in grouping them. And then what's really nice is that the next part has the students to be able to add to their foldable as we go through the activity. So here's an example in walking them through the foldable. So I'll tell them, right on the top there, how is matter classified? And then we'll say, hey, matter is classified into 2 major categories, pure substances and mixtures. And then as they open up the foldable, they'll see that they have space to write the definition and then provide some examples. This is what the foldable looks like. And then I do have them actually paste the foldable on top of the note sheet. And so when they open it, right, they'll see pure substances and mixtures. And as I already mentioned, they'll be able to write definitions and examples for either one. And then as they open it even further, that's when we get into elements, compounds, heterogeneous, homogeneous. So I think this is going to be a really great way to organize the information for the students. And then of course, what's really nice about this activity too, it also incorporates particle diagrams. So let me show you that next. These are the particle diagrams that go along with the activity, and they actually will match up the particle diagrams with the activity. So there'll be, obviously not every substance is represented because there's a total of 8 substances, but there are 6 particle diagrams, so my students will have an opportunity to match them up and then use some evidence to explain why. This is also really nice to refer to like the states of matter so that students understand and review how to depict a solid versus a liquid versus a gas. So I think this is going to be really great. And then I do introduce some more terminology like atom, bond, molecule, but like I said, this will occur after my students have completed the activity with classifying all the other substances. I think for right now what I'm going to do is settle in and do some grading, drink my coffee, enjoy my prep period this morning, and then I'll check in with you after my period 2 to let you know how it went. Well, I just finished with my period 2 class and we were able to get pretty far into the activity. It went really well. The students got it right away. It seemed like their observations really helped to aid them in deciding how they're going to classify the substances. They even had an opportunity to add to their foldables, which was great. So I'm very, very happy with the activity so far. We will finish it up tomorrow, and that's where I incorporate some of the particle diagrams. In the past, when I've taught this lesson, I've done it a bunch of different ways. I've done the typical like notes on the board, right, and the guided notes, but then I've also done it where I've done the POGIL activity, and I like that as well. But I wanted to do something different. I wanted to actually give them substances to look at, because the title of the unit's Tools of Chemistry, right, and gathering data, making observations is what chemists do. And so I thought this was one way to kind of, again, simulate what a chemist actually does. And so I thought it was a great activity. I'm really excited. Tomorrow, they're going to have to further classify the pure substances and mixtures. Although I've already seen their groupings, we did have a chance to start that. And I think it's going to be just great with that. And then after that, to check for understanding, after they finish their foldable and everything, what I'm thinking we could do is play a Book-It game. So I have a Book-It game that I created. Now, all of these activities that you're seeing in this video today were created by me, and they're in my Tools of Chemistry unit. So this is a 5E unit bundle that I've created. I worked so hard over the summer to create, and I am so thrilled that things are going this well with the students, and the activities that I've created have really helped get the students up and moving and thinking about chemistry. So I think I'm done vlogging for the day. I do have one more class of honors students that I'll be engaging in this activity with, but for right now, I think I'm gonna stop here. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I wanna wish you a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I'll be sure to check in with you very soon.